If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy.
A fiery primetime address from the president tonight, taking direct aim at his predecessor.
The president billed his speech in Philadelphia tonight as the continued battle for the soul of the nation, but he didn't hold back in his sharp rebuke of former President Donald Trump and his supporters.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represented extremism.
Disinformation and extremism is really kind of rooted in anti-Semitism.
That threatens the very foundations of our republic.
All new this afternoon, the Ohio School Board Association has decided to terminate membership with the National School Boards Association. This comes after a letter sent out by the NSBA to the Biden administration calling parents domestic terrorists. The board said the letter was sent on behalf of the state, and it's far from the truth.
As to item 34, this seemingly reasonable request for cleaning up our rules of order and procedure is made problematic by association with SB 1100 and the over-the-top reaction to parents complaining about what school boards were doing to their children, with the federal DOJ famously labeling such parents domestic terrorists.
A week ago, the National School Boards Association wrote to the president to say that their teachers feel like some parents protesting recently could be the equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism. And then the Attorney General put the FBI on the case. So does the administration agree that parents upset about their kids' curriculums could be considered domestic terrorists?
MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards.
The Department of Justice does now have the FBI on this. It's something that the School Boards Association is asking for is for the administration to consider using the Patriot Act to investigate some of these school board protesters. So would the administration be okay with the FBI using the Patriot Act to surveil these parents if that is what they decide?
Ohio school board officials say they strongly disagree with their decision to request federal intervention, as well as their claims of domestic terrorism and hate crime.
Not in a million years did we dream that one day we'd see the Justice Department treat American parents as domestic terrorists.
So tonight I'm going to be bringing forward an item that was a little bit contentious on social media, but I don't think it should be contentious at all. Back on July 5th, I believe, we had an issue where a person came to council, gave a public comment. There were concerns on the dais that the information was untrue.
And I just want to really quickly talk about over the last 4 or 5 years, how drastically the revenues have decreased compared to the expenditures. The expenditures now are way over what the revenues are. If you look right there, 18-19, we were $44.5 million ahead of the game. Then we went down to $22.7 million. Then it went down to $17 million. We're still in the green. But then in 21-22, we went to 29 millions in the hole. Expenditures over revenues. And last week when I brought some of this up, several of you looked at me like I was speaking some foreign language or I didn't have my facts right. And that's why I'm bringing this back up with this. And now the proposed budget coming up for 22-23 is looking at $41 million further in the hole. And I just bring this up. I'm sure there is a lot more to those numbers than I brought forward, but it just draws me serious concern. And I'm sorry I'm boring you, Ms. Carr, with these numbers, but it does cause concern because it goes right along with buying the homeless hotel, the low-income housing within the city and building more low-income housing. And everybody I've talked to really doesn't know where this is coming from and how it's going to benefit the citizens of Huntington Beach.
And a couple of council members wanted to respond, but in that moment, there was a little bit of confusion.
Mayor Douglas.
Yes.
Mayor, I just want to address something quickly because it's.
Go ahead.
Before the next speaker speaks, putting that up there and speaking to it is dangerous. I can address
anything right now.
I can absolutely.
Mayor.
I know. I'm going to let him speak to it because he doesn't have the correct information.
That the chart up there.
Mayor,
Excuse me.
actually, we can't. People can speak how they want to, even if we believe it's misinformation. We can't
All right.
respond to it or have a dialogue.
Sir, go ahead. Sir, go ahead.
Okay, I pulled those right off the website. You can look at them off the website. I'm Pepper.
City Attorney, can then we ask to have the finance meeting again, which we had on June 7th,
Yes.
and do another study session to clarify?
Sir Dahl.
So can we make a request as a city council to once again go over these numbers that we did on June 7th, which clearly some people have missed,
Yes.
so that we can do it again and clarify that?
Coming back with something like that's absolutely appropriate.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll do that.
But
Let's do
talking
that.
tonight is a Brown Act
Let's
violation.
do that.
We'll do that.
June 7th, or a recap. If we could tell the finance, Dale, to please prepare that for the next council meeting.
We will do.
Session.
In addition to that, just because I wanted to respond to some things that were brought up online as well, it was included signs and objects or things like that. I know on social media, along with the sign that I held up at a protest back in 2017, which was one of my finest moments actually, because I was standing up and using my First Amendment. It was also brought up about the recent AB 1100, which relates to the Brown Act. SB 1100, thank you. Where the government for the state of California indicated there are a change in rules about when you might be able to remove somebody from a meeting if they are disturbing it. So they're not maybe coming up with ideas, conspiracies, honestly, about how we're running things. Attended the Driving Out Darkness conference, the Orange County Summit on Anti-Semitism and Hate at UCI. It was, I attended that with many, actually, people here. It was a very informative day, challenging, but we learned a lot more about the history and also how disinformation and extremism is really kind of rooted in anti-Semitism. Again, we've talked about earlier tonight about disinformation, misinformation. Disinformation and extremism is really kind of rooted in anti-Semitism.
Is, abundantly clear that anti-Semitism is on a rise here, not just in Orange County, but globally. But as we see the divisiveness in our culture with bigotry, with hatred, with conspiracy theories,
There are a change in rules about when you might be able to remove somebody from a meeting if they are disturbing it. I'm just general. So they're not maybe coming up with ideas, conspiracies, honestly, about how we're running things.
To speak in opposition to Natalie Moser's agenda item 34, where she will proceed to
Go ahead, sir.
restrict our free speech.
30% of legislation or bills passed by elected officials reflect the needs and desires and what is expected by the people that elected them.
And I'm here just to applaud your attempts to silence the unruly and genuinely scary people who dare to disagree with you. Who do they think they are? It's good to see voices of reason, whether in Sacramento or here, because great minds think alike, triumph over the unbridled voices of defiance and mockery. I'm here to propose that this City Hall be officially declared a sarcasm-free zone. Perhaps we could even have a special new flag flown in front of City Hall, which reads, "Don't question authority, you'll regret it." Just because authoritarianism these days wears pumps and a pantsuit doesn't make it any less an enemy of freedom.
So item 17 concerns a density bonus for Olson Company for the 34 townhomes, replacing 3 regular homes on Talbert. I mean, who knew that we paid developers a bonus for achieving higher density? Item 26, concerning the appointment of a member to the Sustainability Board, I would like to call into question the whole idea of our city government maintaining internal lobbying organizations to push for particular political agendas, such as moving from gasoline to electric cars while simultaneously sabotaging the electric grid. As to item 34, this seemingly reasonable request for cleaning up our rules of order and procedure is made problematic by association with SB 1100 and the over-the-top reaction to parents complaining about what school boards were doing to their children, with the federal DOJ famously labeling such parents domestic terrorists.
Not in a million years did we dream that one day we'd see the Justice Department treat American parents as domestic terrorists.
I heard something on the radio this morning that just cracked me up. I mean, it really isn't funny, but it was so City Hall and this dysfunctional council. The quote was, "The beatings will continue until morale improves." That's what it feels like around here. Keep beating us. I know, you love to do it. All of this is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes.
The fact that anti-Semitism manifests itself in conspiracy theories and tropes is not something that I had given a lot of thought to before we talked about that at that conference.
And so to really understand the basis of where a lot of this division is coming from really will help us to come up with solutions to bring people together. And that really was the big focus of this, was what sort of coping mechanisms, what sort of tools can we use collectively to call out this sort of hate when we see it. And we actually, the electeds, had an opportunity to sit with Supervisor Andrew Doe. And, his response was right away. When you see it, if somebody's coming to the podium and spewing hate, call it out right away. I know our city attorney doesn't agree with that, but I do. And I think that we should be able to exercise, I do. I think when we hear hate speech, we should be able to call it out right away and not let it sit and fester and grow, because that's the problem that we have in this country right now. That's the problem we have in Huntington Beach, is that the people are not speaking out. They're not speaking out when they hear hatred and when they hear this divisive speak. It's incumbent upon all of us to be a part of that solution and to not tolerate it. Silence is not an option. So, thank you, Mayor. I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you. It saddens me to see people try to create a riot.
Police Department, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. In the name of the people of the state of California, command all those assembled at Pacific Coast Highway, Main Street, to immediately disperse, which means to break up this assembly. If you do not do so, you may be arrested.
Frankly, over something that's trying to improve things, to create transparency, to literally, I have to say this, I was called a fascist, a communist, a globalist, all these things. Yeah, just by Dan. No, but by many people over the weekend. I said I was dangerous.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice!
For bringing this forward, Ms. Berger, this is, I'm a big rule follower. It's a process that I think existed when we had 60,000 residents and Bob the Butcher could give you information. We had 3 local newspapers. You were either not informed or informed, but now you are informed, not informed, and misinformed or disinformed.
It will also be important in understanding more about mis and disinformation online. As leaders, we're rightly concerned that even the most light touch approaches to disinformation could be misinterpreted as being hostile to values of free speech that we value so highly.
In response to social media saying that that this was some nefarious attempt to silence, it could not be further from the truth.
So they're not maybe coming up with ideas, conspiracies, honestly, about how we're running things.
And it is, abundantly clear that anti-Semitism is on a rise here, not just in Orange County, but globally. But as we see the divisiveness in our culture with bigotry, with hatred, with conspiracy theories, all of this is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes.
You work for us. I can just imagine if you were working somewhere, you went to the boss's office and said, we're not going to listen to you anymore. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. How long do you think you'd remain employed?
But when I first heard about this agenda item, I was pretty upset because, I know it's not important to you guys, but the First Amendment is really important to me. I think it really counts. And I got really upset. But then over the weekend, I had a chance to be around a lot of people. I was precinct walking. I got to go to Janet Wynn's headquarters kickoff where there were like 250 people. It was really exciting. I went to another candidate event and I talked to a lot of people and I told them about your agenda item, Ms. Mosier. And like me, they were pretty pissed off too. So then I thought to myself, well, why would I stop this now, right? You guys are kind of the gift that keeps on giving. So you go, girl. You go, council. You vote on this because, voting records matter. Yeah, they do. So carry on. Have a great evening.
This is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
My name is Gracie Vandermark, and I will fight to resolve the homeless crisis currently dominating our city.
My name is Casey McKeon. I will fight for our charter to retain local control and stop predatory development.
My name's Tony Strickland. I'll fight Sacramento's overreach and give the power back to the people of Huntington Beach.
My name is Pat Burns. I will fight to support our police and keep Huntington Beach safe for our residents and businesses.
I am a business owner, a former finance and planning commissioner, but most importantly, I am a mother and a grandmother committed to keeping our city safe.
I'm a business owner, former finance commissioner, and third-generation Huntington Beach native committed to protecting the city that I love.
I'm a business owner, finance commissioner, former senator, and assembly member, and I'll hit the ground running for our wonderful city.
I'm a retired police officer and community service commissioner. My life has been committed to service, and I'm willing to fight to protect our quality of life.
I am Gracie Vandermark.
I'm Casey McKeon.
I'm Pat Burns.
I'm Tony Strickland, and we're asking for your vote on November 8th.
Together,
Together,
Together, we will fight to keep Huntington Beach safe
and protect our city.